Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Corey.
And I'm Charon. And today we're talking about something that I think a lot of people either are going through right now or have been through and haven't quite processed yet.
Burnout.
Burnout. The word gets thrown around a lot, but we want to get into what it actually feels like, what the signs really are, and what, if anything, helps.
And we're speaking from personal experience here, so brace yourselves.
Some of this will be uncomfortably relatable.
Okay, so I'll just say it. I completely burned out a couple of years ago, like fully. Not in a I need a long weekend way, in a I sat in a work meeting and couldn't make myself speak way.
Wow.
Right. So let's actually talk about the signs. Because I think people picture burnout as someone dramatically falling apart, crying at their desk, unable to function. And it's not always that.
No, it very often isn't.
Okay, so for me, the first signs were so small, I just explained them away. I was sleeping badly, waking up at 3 in the morning, brain already running through my to-do list. And I thought, normal. Everyone has bad sleep when work is busy.
The 3 a.m. wake up. Yes, I know that one. That was mine too. But I also had this thing where I'd be in a conversation, a real conversation, with a friend over dinner, and I'd realize I hadn't absorbed a single word they said. I was physically present and completely absent at the same time.
Oh, that's such a good one. The fog, the mental fog where you're just not quite there.
And I'd get irritated with myself about it, which of course just added to the load.
I got headaches every afternoon, like clockwork. I bought better coffee, I got a standing desk, I did everything except slow down.
The standing desk.
It did nothing. Spoiler, the headaches were not caused by my chair.
To be fair, you were probably dehydrated and burned out.
True, I was multitasking my problems.
But I think the sign that should have made me stop, that I kept overriding, was that I stopped enjoying things. Not dramatically, not overnight. Just the enjoyment left quietly. I used to genuinely love what I was working on. I think about projects when I wasn't at work because I found them interesting. And then one day I noticed I was just going through motions, checking boxes, producing things, but not feeling anything about them.
The flatness.
The flatness, yes. Everything going gray.
And that's the one that scared me the most, honestly. Because you can tell yourself the bad sleep is temporary, the headaches are just stress. But when you lose the feeling for something you used to care about, that's harder to explain away.
And I think for me, being British, there was this extra layer of you don't complain, you don't make a fuss, you get on with it, stiff upper lip and all that.
Oh no.
It genuinely did not occur to me that what I was feeling was a signal worth listening to. I thought, everyone feels this way. This is just adult life. You're tired? So is everyone. Push through.
I was the same. And I think there's also this...
Like a personal failure.
Exactly. Not a situation that needed changing, a personal failure.
Which is, of course, entirely backwards. But that's how it felt.
Okay, so I want to talk about the feelings, the actual texture of it. Because I think when people hear burnout, they think sadness, breakdown, visible suffering. And I didn't feel that.
No.
I felt empty, like there was just nothing there. Not sad, not anxious, not anything in particular, just hollow. And I remember one night, sitting on my couch after work, not watching anything, not doing anything, just sitting there for an hour. And my roommate came home and asked if I was okay, and I said yes, because I didn't have words for what I was feeling. Empty didn't feel like a valid answer.
I'm fine, I'm just hollow isn't a great conversation starter.
Exactly. And yet that would have been the accurate answer.
I had a version of that. Mine was more cynicism. That's what crept up on me. I started rolling my eyes at things I used to care about, sitting in meetings thinking, who cares about any of this? Which was genuinely alarming because 6 months earlier, I was the person who cared most. I was the person taking notes, asking follow-up questions, excited to push things forward.
And then all of that just stopped.
Just stopped. And I felt guilty about it, which made it worse because I knew I should care and I wanted to care. and I couldn't figure out why I didn't anymore, like something had been removed from me.
I also stopped doing things I loved outside of work.
That was a big one. I used to read constantly, fiction, essays, anything. And I just stopped. Not because I decided to, I just ran out of energy for it. By the end of the day, the only thing I could do was lie down and scroll my phone, which is not rest, by the way.
No, absolutely not.
But it felt like the only thing I had left in me.
I stopped cooking. I'd always cooked. I find it genuinely meditative, and I just couldn't. The idea of planning what to eat, going to a shop, chopping things, it felt like too much. I was ordering delivery every night and feeling vaguely ashamed about it, which is a ridiculous thing to feel ashamed about, but there you go.
Genuinely, that's so sad, Charon.
It is a bit, isn't it?
And you didn't recognize it as a sign?
Not at the time. I thought I was just in a busy stretch. I thought I'd cook again when things calmed down. But things didn't calm down because I wasn't changing anything. I was just waiting for the situation to rescue me.
Which it never does.
Which it never does. The situation doesn't rescue you. That's the lesson. B3. Why we keep going.
So why do we keep going? Like, we're clearly not okay. Our bodies are sending signals. Our brains are sending signals. Why do we overwrite them?
I think for me, it was partly that I didn't have a framework for it.
No one had ever said to me, "These are the signs of burnout. Watch for them." So I didn't know what to look for. Same. And also, I think there's something about the culture we're in. Work culture, hustle culture, whatever you want to call it. Being busy is a virtue. Rest is for the weak. If you're struggling, you need to try harder.
There's also a financial layer to it. I couldn't afford to be burnt out, you know? I had bills, I had obligations. Taking a break is a luxury. I couldn't just stop.
That's real, and I don't want to gloss over that, because I think some advice around burnout is incredibly privileged. Just quit your job or take 6 months off. Most people cannot do that.
And even if you can afford to slow down, there's a psychological barrier. Because if you've built your identity around performing, around producing, who are you when you stop?
Yeah, that was genuinely the scary part for me. Not the work, the stillness. What was I when I wasn't achieving something? I think I also had this belief, and I know it's irrational, but it felt completely true at the time, that if I worked hard enough, for long enough, I would eventually arrive at a place where things were manageable. Like there was some future version of my life that was the reward for all the effort.
The just get through this period trap.
Yes, just get through this launch, just get through this quarter. And then another period would start and I'd reset the clock.
It's a very effective way to never actually rest.
It really is. Brilliant design, if you want to destroy yourself slowly.
Dry, 0 stars. Would not recommend. Beat 4. The breaking point.
Okay, the breaking point. Do you want to go first?
All right. Mine was, actually, it was a small thing, and small things are often what break it. I was on a call, nothing high pressure, a regular team check-in, and someone asked a straightforward question, and I answered it. But when the call ended, I sat there and I thought, I don't remember a single thing I said. I had been on autopilot. My mouth had been moving, my brain had been producing words, and I wasn't present for any of it.
That's frightening.
It was, because it meant I had gotten so good at performing being okay that I could do it without even being there. And I thought, this is not a good state of affairs.
Mine was also in a meeting. I got asked a direct question about a project I'd been running for months, and I opened my mouth, and nothing came out. I knew the answer. I just couldn't access it. I sat there in silence, with everyone waiting, and I was just blank.
Oh, Corey.
And I remember thinking very clearly, very calmly, I cannot do this anymore. Not dramatically, just factually, like a light going out.
And what did you do after that meeting?
I cried, which was actually a relief because I hadn't been able to cry in months. I called my mom, and I just told her I'm not okay. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm not okay. And she said, nothing is wrong with you. You're exhausted. You've been running on empty, and your body is telling you to stop.
That's what you needed to hear.
It was.
because she didn't treat it like weakness. She just named it as what it was. Exhaustion. Real accumulated exhaustion with a real cause.
I think I needed someone to name it too. For me, it was a friend, someone who'd been through burnout themselves. I told her I'd been feeling flat and disconnected for months, and she said, "That's not just a rough patch. That's burnout." And something about hearing that word applied to what I was going through made it real, made it something I could address instead of just a state of being I had to endure.
A moment of honesty. Can I ask you something personal?
Go on.
Did you ever feel ashamed about it? Like ashamed that you burned out?
Yes. Honestly, yes. I'm quite good at competence. It's something I take pride in. And to admit, even privately, that I had pushed myself to a point where I was functioning poorly, that my judgment was impaired, that I wasn't showing up fully for the people around me. That felt like a real failure of character.
I felt that too. I still feel a little bit of it sometimes talking about this. Like, shouldn't I have known better? Shouldn't I have caught it sooner?
But I've stopped thinking that way mostly because, and I think this is genuinely important to say out loud, burnout is not a character flaw. It's what happens when you are a person with limits, living in a world that pretends limits don't exist. That's not a personal failing. That's a design flaw in the environment.
Yes, I love that.
And I think the shame is part of what keeps people stuck in it. Because if you think it's your fault, that you're weak, that you're not coping well enough, then the solution is to try harder, which is the exact opposite of what you actually need.
What you actually need is to stop, or at least to slow down enough to hear yourself think again.
Beat 5, recovery. So, what helped?
Because I don't want to just leave people in the hard part. Okay? Real things that actually helped, not just rest more and drink water.
Those are on the list, but you're right, they need context.
For me, therapy. I made an appointment with a therapist, which I had been putting off for over a year because I kept telling myself I wasn't depressed, so I didn't need it. But it wasn't about being depressed. It was about having someone help me look at my patterns, help me understand how I got here.
What did you learn?
The big thing was this. Burnout isn't just about working too hard. It's about working too hard without anything going back in. Like a bank account. You can keep withdrawing, but only if there are deposits happening too. And I had been withdrawing for so long without any deposits that the account was just overdrawn.
That's a useful frame.
And she also helped me see that rest isn't a reward for finishing work. It's not something you earn. It has to be built in on purpose, because the work never finishes. If you're waiting to rest until everything is done, you will never rest.
That one took me a long time to internalize. I'm still working on it, honestly.
Same. But I went from basically zero intentional rest to walks. That was my thing. Just walks with no agenda, no podcast, no goal, no destination. Just walking and looking at things.
And it sounds almost embarrassingly simple, but it helped so much. I started cooking again, deliberately. I blocked Saturday mornings for it, not because I had to, just because it was mine. Something that had nothing to do with work, that produced something tangible, that engaged my hands and my brain in a different way.
The things that are just yours. That's such an important thing to protect.
And I started saying no, which sounds obvious, but it was actually hard. I had to practice it. The first few times I declined something, I felt this wave of guilt and anxiety, like I had let someone down, like I was being lazy, like I'd be seen as less committed.
And
nothing happened. The world continued. Nobody thought less of me. My career didn't collapse. I had just been carrying a story about what saying no would cost me.
And it turned out, the story was almost entirely fiction.
That's the thing with limits, right? You're so afraid of them being a problem for everyone else. And mostly they're just fine.
Shh. People are much less focused on you than you assume. It's simultaneously reassuring and a little deflating.
Story of my life. Okay, closing thoughts. Where are you now with all of this?
Honestly, better. Not completely recovered. I'm not sure completely recovered is the right frame.
Because the tendencies that led to burnout are still in me. The drive, the perfectionism, the discomfort with stillness, those didn't disappear. I just have a better relationship with them now. I can see them for what they are. I think that's right. It's not about becoming a different person. It's about, knowing yourself well enough to see when you're heading somewhere dangerous and caring enough about yourself to actually change course.
I also think burnout changed something good in me. And I don't say that in a silver lining toxic positivity way. I mean, it forced me to ask questions about what I actually value, what kind of life I want to be living. Those aren't questions I would have asked if I just kept running.
Same. I had to ask, who am I when I'm not productive? Do I have a self outside of my output? And that question felt terrifying at first, and then it became interesting, like a real question worth answering.
And the answer was yes, by the way. There is a self outside the output.
There is.
She's working on it.
We both are. Outro. If anything in today's conversation resonated with you, whether you're in the middle of burnout right now, or coming out of one, or just starting to notice the signs, I really hope it helped to hear that you're not alone in this.
And if you have things that helped you, ways you got through it, things you noticed, questions you're still sitting with, please share them in the comments. We genuinely love to know.
If you found this episode useful, a like really helps us reach more people. And subscribe if you want to hear more conversations like this. We do these every week.
Take care of yourselves. Seriously.
Seriously, we mean it. See you next time. Bye.
Cheers.